This is the Arsenal Vision post-match, pre-match, live podcast video stream. That's exactly what it is. My name is Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter, Yankee Gunner. Thanks for joining, everybody. We have lineups and we have puns. Party starts. Party time. It's my party and I'll start him if I want to. All of these things are true, and here to discuss these true things with me is Scott. You can find him on Twitter at _that_crab. Hello, Scott.
Oh, boy.
What was that?
I turned on CBS, and that was what happened here.
Don't ever do it again, please.
I was just getting the match ready to go. That's what we're going to watch, right?
Okay, well, yes, but we're asking people to watch our live stream, not the CBS pregame show, especially for those people who don't even know what CBS is because they come from other parts of the world. So party starts.
Columbia Broadcasting System.
We are going to take your questions as well. So thank you, everybody, for joining. And the first thing is, so Scott, look, you are our analytics guy. I like to think of myself as sort of a master tactician.
Okay.
I think that Rapid Vienna have made a huge mistake because the one thing you want in a fixture like this is the element of surprise. And I think by letting us know right in their name that they're Rapid, like the surprise is gone, right? They could have said slow Vienna or lateral passing Vienna, but Rapid Vienna, we know they're going to try to get in behind us. So do you think that was a misstep by them to throw that right into their name of the club?
Yeah, it maybe is. That's probably a good point. I guess you don't want to try to.
Is it a good point?
I mean, it's a point.
It's a joke. It wasn't even a good one. Didn't land. Why are you humoring me? Come on. Rapid Vienna. Okay, so we got our first question from Adishri Basnet. And I'm sorry, Adishri, for the name thing. It's a problem for me. Why so strong team tonight? I don't know. Is it a strong team? Let's go over the lineup and let's sort of see. Oh, Clive P. AFC says El Neni Vienna. Is El Neni Vienna? I don't know. Cohen again says, Elliot, you don't know that. What if they're slow and physical team? You're right. Maybe the Rapid Vienna, the name Rapid, maybe that is the misdirection. Scott, you should have been all over that. Okay, so party starts. Let's go over the lineup. Do you consider this a strong team? I mean, he has rotated pretty heavily. I think the thing that you would have to look at, let's start at the back. How do you feel about Gabriel starting in particular, Luis as well? I mean, players that we probably are going to need in the league fixture on Sunday. Now, we don't play until Sunday at 7:15 p.m. local time. Someone will have to explain that to me at some point. How do you feel about him going with two of our really important regulars in defense?
I mean, who else? I guess Mustafi is back, but I mean, he hasn't played yet. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. We do kind of have still a center back injury crisis. So there really isn't a ton of other options there. Is there?
I mean, I guess. No, probably not, right? I mean, could he have played like Cedric as a center back and
brought in Maitland-Niles, I guess, on the right.
Yeah.
I get it, but I don't know. It's there isn't a ton of options right now. And you don't want to lose the first match. So I don't know. It's not the worst.
No, I mean they always say the one of the good tactics. We talked about the tactic of putting your approach right in your name. Another tactic is not losing matches. I think in general, Arteta should be pushing to not lose the first match or any match. So thank you for that. What do you think about party starting? What's your feeling about party? So obviously, like I'm not a believer that we should be using full strength lineups in the Europa League group stage.
Yeah.
But this is a player who hasn't played with the team much, hasn't played in the system. He got 7 minutes or whatever it was against City.
Maybe a week of training.
Yeah, give him 60 minutes here, give him 50 minutes here, get him up to speed, and then start him again at the weekend. Do you think?
Yeah, probably. I guess. I mean, if I'm really looking at things, the ones that I guess I don't really understand, maybe Pepe and Saka. I mean, that's probably about the only ones that are maybe kind of questionable. I mean, I don't worry too much about, a goalkeeper. It is weird that we have two goalkeepers on the bench. That's a weird one. I guess we don't have anyone else that we really want to play. But other than that, I don't worry too much about the other starters. I don't think Lacazette or Nketiah, I mean, are they going to play on the weekend? Maybe, I don't know, but they're not really nailed on starters for me. So I guess it's not too bad of a lineup. It's strong, but not overly strong. It's the Europa League.
Are you at all surprised that we haven't gone with a second choice keeper, or does this tell you a little something about
a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have at least, give him a chance, unless it's something that's,
these comments are always going to make it on.
Yeah.
These comments are always going to make it onto the screen. I just want to be clear about that. If you want to make it onto the screen, these comments, they will always get onto the screen. Elliot, stop tweeting. I got to let the people know, and you are the people that we're actually doing this. This is an interesting question, actually. This lineup can be a 4-4-2. Let's talk about this, because Lacazette and Nketiah, I don't think either of them work out wide. Pepe and Saka, one of them could be in the front three. Do you think that this winds up being a 4-2-3-1 with one of Nketiah and Lacazette wide? Do you think that it is a 4-4-2 with Saka and Pepe as the wide players, and maybe that they'll tuck in to make it more that 4-2-2-2 that we've seen at times under Arteta? Reach into the big brain in your head and tell me how this is going to be structured.
I mean, almost all lineups are fluid. So, I mean, I think that this is going to be very similar to, the 3-4-3 that we've seen so often. I think that you could kind of galaxy brain and say this is a 4-2-3-1, maybe Lacazette dropping as a number 10. So, I mean, I think this could be a number of different things. I think that we will defend in a 4-4-2. So I imagine that is probably how it's going to look there. Maybe it'll be a 5 at times if one of the, I guess either Saka or Pepe, goes into the back 5. So, I mean, I think all lineups can be a little fluid and it changes. I think it's going to depend on the roles. I really hope this isn't Eddie Nketiah out on the right or on the left, because I think that really makes him look really bad, because that's not really his skills. He's very much a penalty box poacher. And if he's outside of the penalty box, he doesn't really seem to be very effective to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. Who has the larger forehead, Elliot or Scott? Got the hair pulled. I mean, I don't know. What do I have? I have a forehead. Do you have a 5 or a forehead?
It looks pretty close to 4.
4. Okay, yeah. Forehead. So not the Gervinho. We don't have the Gervinho. We do have the Ballon de foreheads going on, which is cool. I'm fine with that.
I did get a haircut. The man bun is gone.
We had a good fluid reference. As I was holding fluids, you said that the attack could be fluid.
Is that but that's not in one of the Arsenal's new sponsor cans. You're not rocking the ball cans.
No, I have not received any compensation, so I will not. No free sponsorships. That's, if I have one rule in life, it's no free sponsorships. We are taking your questions and comments, as you can obviously see. I do think this will be interesting. I mean, I'm excited to see Party. Where do you fall on the issue of going strong in the Europa League? I mean, I know you believe in rotation. Do we have a deep enough team that we could be and potentially should be rotating more than this? I mean, so here's how I see it. Let me just lay this out for you for a second. We want to get back into the Champions League. I don't know if you've heard about that. And the one big advantage you get with the Europa League can be a problem because it's a lot of fixtures. But the one advantage you have is during the group stages, you can rotate and not play any strategically important players for those 6 games. Whereas the Champions League teams have to use their best players midweek. So if you take 6 games times 90 minutes, you get 560 minutes. Now you're going to play them some. So let's say 400. You could take 450 minutes out of the legs of your key players that Champions League teams have to keep in the legs of their key players. And that does feel like a material advantage to me. So do you think that we have not been leveraging that advantage enough? And when you look at this lineup, is that something that you worry about? I mean, obviously guys like Saka, they're young, they can run for days, but how do you feel about that generally?
I think that it's also missing a chance to develop a little bit more of players too, because this is, lesser competition. So you aren't necessarily going to be throwing people into things that are over their heads. It's one of those chances, it could have been something that we could have seen. I would have liked to see Reece Nelson in this one. If this isn't a match for Reece Nelson, I don't know what is. So I think that is something that is also missing out.
Yeah, I mean,
so yeah, it's definitely getting rest.
I don't know. I mean, he's on the bench tonight. Maitland-Niles on the bench as well. It's funny. There's been a lot of Maitland-Niles talk in the media. He did some interviews talking about how Arteta's gotten the best out of him and promptly not playing now, which is interesting. What about? So, I guess I don't want to do it. I'm reluctant to do it. Let's talk about Cedric. Is this it? I mean, is this really what it's going to be about? Is it Cedric gets the occasional start in a low-level Europa League? Is there a chance for him to perform and put himself into the frame for real first-team minutes, or no?
I mean, I hope not. I mean, I don't think so. I mean, looking at him, he's been fine when he's played. I mean, I don't think I've had any major complaints. He's done a couple nice things, but he hasn't really played in any serious matches. So I guess it is going to be one of those. I will never understand the contract and the move. So it's he's just very much a player that's there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is definitely one of those things that I will struggle to understand. One of the interesting things tonight is that Willian given the day off completely. So do you think that Willian is given the day off because he's just really old and struggled to make it to Vienna? They were going up the stairs to the plane and he couldn't get up the stairs and they had to leave him. I mean, is it purely that he was too old to make it to Vienna? Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, it definitely could. They didn't want to squeeze him in like a sausage.
Yeah.
Was that a bad joke? Did that one not land either?
Vienna sausage. Don't. Your jokes land about as well as mine do, so it's no big deal. This is actually a really good question. Which triggers Elliot more, Oba on the left or the Cedric deal? So it's probably Oba on the left because we can do something about that. The Cedric deal is done, and we can't do anything about that. So I would say. Oh wait, we have some news. Willian out with a tight calf.
Okay.
Yeah, Willian is injured. Willian has a calf injury. So, that will happen when you sign 40-year-old players. Yeah. I'm sure it's going to be fine, which, I'm sure we'll be fine with that. Let's talk about Saka though. This is a player that I think you and I both feel has the opportunity to be the supremely elite player from our young players. I mean, Martinelli, will have to see how he comes back from the injury, but Saka is one of those players who really can be a superstar in my view. So how do you feel about Saka's development? And is it time for Arteta to move on from using him as a wing back? I mean, it looks like he's going to be starting, either in a more midfieldy kind of role, advanced midfield kind of role, or potentially as a left wing in a 4-4-2. How do you feel about this role for Saka and how Arteta has to take him to the next level?
Yeah, I really do like to see him move further up the pitch. I don't know if it's better if he's the left wing or that, left attacking midfielder kind of thing, but I do want to see him more in those roles. I actually think that, it's nice to have a left-footed player on that left-hand side sometimes instead of having, always, the inverted wingers. I know that's something that, that Leroy Sané was so good for those Manchester City teams where you actually have someone who can get shots from that side without having to always cut inside all the time, so then it's more dangerous to where, and I think that's something that the Saka is able to do as well. So I'd like to see him to be able to do something like that. And I think he definitely has the potential to do that. I just look at him and there's so much that he's able to do. He's able to play as a midfielder, which is pretty crazy. He's able to be, a pretty good, left back, which is really good too. But I think his potential is going to be, let's move him further up the pitch where he's more dangerous.
Yeah, I think that is fair. For me, the thing with Saka is just that, like, one of the reasons this is all bound up in the issue of Aubameyang being played centrally, right? Because for me, when you see Saka out on that left, Scott, like, you see the way he can beat a man, you see the way he can carry the ball from midfield into the final third, and the way his delivery in the final third is so good. Players really don't, you see the same kind of things with him that you see with elite wide players, right? Defenders scared to be aggressive with him, able to draw defenders out of position to create space for other attackers. And the problem with Oba on the left, as far as I see it, is that it's not that he can't score goals there. It's that I don't think he's elite at the other things that wide players do. And when I see Saka do that, I say we can get an elite wide performance from Saka that also benefits Aubameyang by pulling defenders out of space. The two seem very symbiotic in that respect. So is that fair that people want to point out Aubameyang scores goals from the left. His, goals per 90 from the left is as good as it is from the center, but it's the things he can't do as a wide player that a player like Saka could do that I think is limiting the ceiling on the attack. Is that a fair way to frame it?
I think so too. And because I think one of the things that I think we were able to come to a certain piece with Aubameyang on the left is that Arsenal didn't really have another alternative on that left-hand side that was able to get something out of it. So we were able to make that trade-off of, all right, we're going to get goals from Aubameyang. Maybe we're not going to get a ton of structure and build up and, creating chances for it, but we're going to get goals. And we'll make that trade-off and we'll put Lacazette or someone else as striker, and we'll also still get some shots and everything like that. But I think right now we are now seeing that it is a bigger trade-off than what it was before, where we actually have someone who fits, who's a natural left-sided player who will be able to do some of the things that Aubameyang isn't able to do, and it's not worth that trade-off anymore. And especially if you're not going to get the most out of him. Yes, he's still able to score goals, but I think he's a better player, and he's able to get more of his shots in his prime locations that he is just so good at. He's so good at finding those, playing off that last player and being able to find those little pockets of space. Because that's one of the things that, we've always talked about, is that he's an elite player at finding space, being in the right place at the right time, and getting shots, within 12 yards of goal. And, maybe he's not the greatest finisher, but I think that's what we need to be able to get him back to do. And I really hope that this is something that, going forward happens more.
As far as getting players on track, I've always been sort of curious about how coaches approach this and what you think about this. Which is more important, like momentum, form, confidence, or actual rest? So, for example, Braden363 asks if the goals are flying in by the hour mark, far from a guarantee. And yes, I would agree that given our 8 shots per game that we've been averaging, far from a guarantee, but maybe it happens. Would you bring on like an Aubameyang to try to get him a goal, get him off the mark, maybe play him centrally with Saka and Pepe on either side to build a little experience and confidence into a system like that ahead of, a tricky game against Leicester? Or is it just a case of you get the guy the full rest, you don't worry about it? 31-year-old superstars don't need to score goals against Rapid Vienna to get in good form. I mean, where do you fall on the sort of like form versus rest argument there?
I think for Aubameyang, I would definitely fall on the let's let him rest. Especially, given his age, I don't think I don't think that he's necessarily a confidence player. I mean, this is a guy who's an elite goal scorer. I mean, I don't think that he needs this. I don't think this is a major worry for him. So I would definitely fall on unless it's I don't think that he should get off the bench at all. I don't even think, even if Arsenal are down 3 goals and are in desperate need of one, I wouldn't bring him on. Yeah. That's me though.
A good point here though. There's 5 changes available today. So we can see a lot of changes. And given that we've named 2 goals on the bench, limiting the options of who we would actually bring on. I think it is possible that Aubameyang will get 15, 20 minutes in this game.
And if it's 15, 20 minutes, I'm not going to like pull my hair out. But no. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Everything about the Europa League seems to me it is what it is. I hope it's fun.
I hope it's fun. And I think like it is a chance for Arteta to experiment with different things and see if they work. The problem is if you're experimenting with different things to see if they work, you need to experiment with it with players you might actually. So I see the challenges. Hopefully Arteta goes more attack in this game. Let's talk about this. How concerned are you about the attack? I mean, I think I tend to love attacking football. I think we all do. And so there's times I think where we can be unnecessarily dismissive of football that is structurally stable and protective and that doesn't have goals flying in every 5 minutes at your end of the pitch. We now have a team that I think looks solid, that looks like it can keep a game from getting away from it, right? That we have a structure now that doesn't give you the fear every time we line up that we're just going to get hit for goal after goal. How much of the burden now is on Arteta to start to really find ways to layer on the attack? And do you think that we can get where we want to go, taking 8 shots a game, being structured, being tight at the back, and taking our 1 or 2 chances? Or do you think he has to get the attack more effective if we're going to make a real top 4 challenge?
I don't take that breaking down a little bit more. So I did talk a little bit about this yesterday on the analytics podcast. So one of the things that I think that Arteta has done is he's definitely traded quantity for quality. That's something that's definitely been kind of, Emery did it similarly too, but I don't think he necessarily did it quite as much. I think that was just, we're not going to take shots at all, and we're going to give up a ton. So Arsenal are using slow possession, control the game, try to draw it out, and then really kind of we're going to create a couple better chances than you are, and we're going to hope our finishing finishes out. So can Arsenal win games taking 8 shots? Yes. Can they make the top 4 at 8 shots? I have doubts. I think we would need to add a little bit more quantity. I think I would like to see Arsenal in the double digits of shots. Maybe if it's 10 or 11, okay, maybe, as long as we're still, 15% per shot. Yeah, that's good. Then you're at, 1.6 XG per game. And if you're allowing less than 1 XG per game, you're at plus 0.6. You're going to win a lot of matches that way. You might be some frustrating draws that go in, but I think that is really where Arsenal need to try to get to if we want to get into the top 4. Doing it 8 shots a game isn't going to be enough, but I think a lot of that is also who we've played. We do have Liverpool and Manchester City away on the schedule, so I really do hope that we can start to see a bit more in the shots. So it's frustrating, and I think I'm coming to the conclusion that I don't think Arteta plays swashbuckling football like we kind of hoped.
It's hard to know, right? Because I mean, you could say that Pep has a very structured, specific, almost robotic system that he wants to use. But I would say he uses that structure to push more resources into the attacking half of the pitch. So far, Arteta has used that structure to keep us protected at the back. The thing that has surprised me the most is how little we press. Because the press is such an easy availability to create chances in transition, to create creativity, to be redundant, when you don't have creative players, right? If you don't have someone to play the final ball, a good way to create chances is to create them in transition when there's more open space. The pass doesn't have to be as precise. We've seen in wins over City and Liverpool, even a little bit of press and the keeper gives it away to us and we get an easy goal or something like that. We don't press much. And I think it does make me wonder if we don't press because we lack the athletes in midfield to press. I mean, the irony is the one time we sort of pushed up to press a little bit against City, that's when we conceded the goal. They got right behind us. And you saw our center midfielders trying to flow back to goal. And it's like salmon swimming upstream. Now, to be fair, salmon are actually quite adept at swimming upstream. So maybe that is a bad analogy. So if you have an analogy for people who run slowly being related to something else, please send it our way and we'll use it. So, is that the thing? Can we stay structured defensively, but be more of a pressing system and try to use a press to overcome maybe a lack of gifted playmakers?
It's certainly possible, and I think that's something that I'd like to see more of. But I think it's fighting, I think, his natural tendency to want to be more protecting. So it will take moving those central midfielders further up the pitch. And maybe it's because we have new center backs coming in, and Gabriel's not necessarily on the same page. Because I think that's one of the things that we saw in that goal is that Gabriel got sucked into covering Aguero, and that left all sorts of space that our midfielders couldn't recover to do. So maybe that's something that when we know when he needs to cover those kinds of spaces, we'll see a little bit more of that coming forward. But yeah, that's definitely a good chance. And I think when we see maybe some of these smaller teams, we'll see more of the pressing come in. I think it'll be interesting, actually, Leicester, if that's something we're going to press them, because they are depleted with injuries. And I think that's actually something that could be pretty interesting because they aren't necessarily a team that pushes the ball forward a lot. They are very similar to Arsenal in that they like to hold the ball deep and then in the middle third. So that actually probably will give opportunities to press them. So I think this will be an interesting test of that theory.
Yeah. That's look, the thing that everybody's going to want to see though, Scott, the thing that I think has people the most excited looking at this game is Partey, right? Is Thomas Partey. And so I think there's probably a lot of confusion about who this player is. We did 2 scouting videos on our Patreon, which, not that I'm saying sign up for our Patreon, but do it! Sign up! How many times do we have to ask you? If you don't sign up, we're going to keep asking you. I mean, think about that. If you don't sign up, you're going to keep hearing about Manscaped on the regular pod. You're going to have to hear me talking about shaving my privates. So just sign up. Then you don't have to hear about that. Seems so obvious. My God. Sorry. You just go to Arsenal Vision. You want to hear about me shaving my privates? So just sign up for Patreon. And then you get Scott's Analytics pod. So, as far as Thomas Partey, what does he add that we haven't had? I think people like the player, and I like the player, and you see the physicality, the big frame. You see a dribbling player, a player who plays some of the same kind of long passes Xhaka does. What are we going to see him do tonight that we're going to go, wow, we haven't had that in our midfield? If you had to say that, we're doing the instant reaction pod for patrons, I will. I haven't mentioned the Patreon, but I'll get to that in a moment. If you were going to see something from him tonight that we'll be raving about after the match, what is that thing going to be? What is the thing he's going to do that we haven't done?
I mean, hopefully it's to do with some of those kinds of beat a man and, be able to create another transition where, beat a defender and then find someone in space. I hope that is there's a couple of those situations where that's able to happen. I also hope that, we see a little bit more of the agility, a little less of the turtles running in sand with him in there to be able to give some support to the shielding of the back four. I do think, with him and Elneny, there's, some decent athletes in our midfield now. It will be a bit of a change from the Xhaka Ceballos. So yeah, that'll be kind of fun to see.
Adishri says he can't sign up for Patreon from Nepal. If you can't sign up from Nepal, you get in touch with me. I'll hook you up. We'll figure something else out. We'll get you a couple free podcasts on the side. I know a guy who knows a guy. So all right. And the Gooners Pod thing we will see from Party is being really good.
Okay, I hope so.
We'll see about that. A few predictions before we take some final questions. What do you see as a score? One thing we have to get mentioned yet. So I don't totally understand how this. You do get in the comments and explain to me. So the stadium that we're playing at tonight, right? It has doors, and when the doors, people can go through the doors. They get into the building, and then there are chairs, and they can sit in the chairs and watch the players play the game. I understand they're calling this fans in the stands. This is a thing, apparently. How do you feel about the fact there'll be fans at the stands, and what does that do? How does that change things? You think that, obviously makes for a better environment, but do you think it more pressure, less pressure? How do you think this fans in the stands thing is going to work out?
I don't know. So I don't know what the actual capacity is. They have a limit here on this one. I didn't check that beforehand, but I can't imagine it's full capacity. So I don't know if it'll really change things at all. I was watching the Reno semifinal of the UCL, and the Reno had 700 fans in the stands, which was kind of weird because it's like it's a stadium. It's a small stadium, but it's like that's a less than 10% capacity kind of thing, and it's still just kind of weird. It's still echoey, and they do make noise, so it's kind of, I don't know if it's different than playing without any fans at all, because it's some. So yeah,
I can't emphasize this enough. We love you. However much you think you love us, we love you more than that. Fucking love you.
It looks like 3,000 fans in the stands is what we're
3,000 fans in the stands. Okay. Well, all right. Yeah. The thing, can I ask you a question as an analytics guy? I think that there's been a lot of goals, and I think largely XG has been over. Everybody's beating XG right now, right?
Yeah.
Do you think so? I know stats people hate malady. Everything has to be hard factors, but I think this is the strongest. I think this is the strongest argument for mentality actually mattering. It's not, to me, it's no coincidence that players are routinely outperforming XG when there are no fans in the stands. That when it has that training environment, when the pressure of the screaming fans and the energy and the frisson of the environment isn't there, that these players can score goals that they might otherwise not score. Do you think it's any? Look at the penalty kicks we've taken, the PK shootouts with no fans in the stands, and how everything's in the corner, everything goes in. Scott, do you think it is possible that maybe, just maybe, these soft factors that analytics people hate to talk about matter, and that there are no fans in the stands and the players feel much more at ease and much, because you always hear, right? Oh, he bangs in the goals in training. You always hear that expression. Is that really a part of it? Do you think that the heat of the fans not being there has made it easier for players to execute in the final third?
Yeah, I'd like to say that, but some of the other leagues that have had the same kind of stuff haven't seen the same massive change in goals. So it might just be something weird with the Premier League. I don't think that there's necessarily anything special. Maybe there is something, but I don't know why wouldn't there be the same pressure on the defenders that's been lifted to where they aren't freaking out or having that same kind of stuff. I don't know why that causality wouldn't go in both directions.
I mean, the hardest thing to do in football is score a goal, right? So, you're bearing down on the keeper. There's 60,000 fans screaming. The lights are, they're all there. You feel their energy and you want to perform and you can't perform under that pressure. Now you're bearing down on goal and it's like a training session, it's dead quiet in there. And you're just like, I'm just going to go around this guy. Like, I think it lets your mind.
Maybe, yeah. It's certainly possible. I mean, it's some of the, we'll I'm sure we'll get some research papers coming after this, trying to examine more of those things. I think, it's really hard because we're still in a relatively, small sample size kind of stuff. There's different factors also that, players are probably having less rest because there's been more games kind of squeezed into things. There wasn't a preseason. I think that maybe could be another factor as well, is that there hasn't been, a chance for coaches to be able to drill in defensive shape and structure. And maybe that's something that's going on. Maybe there's just, more better attackers that have been bought and brought into the Premier League. It's really hard. There's so many confounding variables right now that it's really hard to say that is it just the fans? There isn't one thing that's changed.
Yeah. Well, I certainly
it's certainly possible. I'm not saying you're wrong, but it's we can't say for sure.
You are saying I'm wrong. You just don't want to say it. Just say I'm wrong.
You're not wrong.
Am I not wrong or am I wrong?
We don't know.
Take a stand. Have a take.
No. See, that's the great thing about being an economist. You can always say on this hand, and you can never you never have to get nailed down to this is one particular take.
I'm going to nail you down here. It's prediction time. Give me your prediction on score and goal scores. I don't need to know who the Rapid Vienna goal scores will be because obviously there'll be none, but yeah.
I think Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah get a goal and it's going to be 2-1.
2-1. A 2-1. Cagey, tight, nervy 2-1 to kick off our European
Arsenal
campaign.
get 9 shots. I
will say if one brace for Pepe, for Saka, 1 for Aubameyang in late. 5-1 to the Arsenal. Just a simple, no questions asked.
Easy peasy.
To Arsenal. And as we start to wrap up, we've got a 5-0 prediction here. We've got an Eddie Brace prediction here. We've got someone who says, get Ozil on the show. I'm not allowed to talk about him because we did a podcast called Our Last Conversation about Mesut Ozil. What I will tell you is he's available. He is apparently presently tweeting, right? Quite a bit of support for Arsenal. We've got 10-0 for Leno, 1-3 to Arsenal, 7-0. 10-0 is obviously the best. Cedric hat trick. Cedric hat trick. If there's a Cedric hat trick, I will do a live stream and eat a hat at full time. I will eat a hat. Pick a hat. I've got an Arsenal hat. I'll put syrup on it. When you eat a hat, what would you put on it? What do you think would make a hat more tolerable?
You got to marinate it, I think, something too, to break down. Maybe put it in like a
brine it overnight.
Yeah,
I don't have
maybe
time.
Yeah, well, that's too bad. Well, you better start marinating it now. You got 2 hours.
You think he's going to get a hat trick?
No.
Okay. If Cedric gets a hat trick, I will eat a hat on camera. An actual hat, because that's quite a trick.
Yeah, it is.
Some people saying deep fry it, English mustard, Nutella, powdered sugar. We've got to vote for mayo, and this is the right answer. Jim wins. Just dunk it in bourbon and choke it down and hope the bourbon makes the memory of it go away.
Yeah. When are we going to get a bourbon sponsor?
Good shout. Also, shrooms might make it easier to eat the hat. All right. Well, I've gone for 5-1. Scott's gone for 2-1. I think we'll wrap it up there. Excited to see Party. I'm excited to see this formation. I mean, Scott, the one thing we know about Arteta is he can throw 11 names on paper. It doesn't mean they're going to line up where you think they will. 4-2-2-2, 4-4-2 out of possession, maybe that turns into a 4-2-2-2. But that wouldn't really be the wide buildup. I'm I'm curious. I'm curious to see how he makes it work. I certainly think the issue tonight, like it is every night, where's the creativity going to come from? I don't think Party and El Neni are going to be providing the final ball. Obviously, it's going to be left to Pepe and Saka. Will they do it from an interior position? Kind of like what Chelsea does with Mount and Pulisic, right? How they come inside to form almost like the eights. Or will they stay wide and try to slide the ball across to Lacazette and Nketiah? Will it be Lacazette dropping deep? Will it be Lacazette playing the Willian role from Manchester City game, right? Dropping in, almost being like a midfielder. So always a lot of fun things to see with Arteta. As always,
I want to see some overlapping fullbacks. I want to see kind of, almost the classic Wenger. Let's get all 5 people all the way up the pitch, or actually even probably 6 people full up the pitch, and let's just go full on, just overload them.
Okay, I'm going to let you go, Scott. Scott's on Twitter. Don't underscore that underscore crap.
Thank you.
Not a yeehaw?
No, I didn't yeehaw today.
Okay, no yeehaw. All right. My name's Elliot Smith. You can block me on Twitter at Yankee Gunner. As always, thanks so much for joining us for this. We love you. That's the image. We love you. Come on, Arsenal. Big 5-1 is what I predicted, but I got to do my outro thing. So we'll be chatting to you on Patreon with the instant reaction after the match, and then a full pod tomorrow. And as always, I hope wherever you are, you're doing well, you're staying safe, you're staying happy, and you'll enjoy the Arsenal today. So we love you, and we will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Rapid Vienna 0.